wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Hey, that's right. Welcome in another edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast, your weekly stop down of the biggest wrestling storylines in the great state of Idaho. We are all yours for the next hour, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, Instagram account, and the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page as well. If you are with us live, we do this every Tuesday night during the high school wrestling season, 7 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Mountain time. Thanks for being with us tonight. My name is Brandon Bainey. Let's introduce you to our wrestling panel this evening. Ho, 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 and a Merry Christmas to Coach Al Fontes. What's up, Al?
Hey, Merry Christmas. It's already here, and I still need to shop.
Yeah, you're looking festive. You're looking chipper, and you've even got the red lettering on your shirt tonight to match the red Santa hat.
Team Idaho.
No doubt. Also here tonight, of course, from East Idaho, Brian Zollinger. Hello, Brian.
Hey, guys. Welcome back, diehards. How we doing?
Good.
Doing good. Yeah, I guess we didn't get the memo, Brian. The IdahoSports.com Christmas party must be after the show tonight. Al's dressed up, ready to go.
I've got my green on it. We're close. We're close, Brandon.
Yeah, I got a little off green going for sure. Here is Travis Tyler at the chat, guys, from Sandpoint. Good evening. Hey, good evening, Travis. Good to see you. And we want to hear from you, the fans, tonight. All right, as we're breaking down the biggest storylines in wrestling, boys and girls. If you've got a comment or a question or a shout out, you want to give a shout out to your favorite coach, favorite athlete, maybe even your favorite podcaster. Al seems to get most of those, but if you want to give somebody a shout out, you could throw it in the chat, throw it wherever you're at, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And we will make sure your message, your shout out gets put up on the screen. Okay. And then as you're sitting here watching tonight as well, if you could hit that like button or the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and then share this when it's all said and done, that will help everybody else find the show on replay a little easier, because not everybody can be here live tonight. We understand that. Okay. We always start the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast with the best thing that I saw from the week that was. Brian, I'll let you lead off tonight. What was the best thing that you saw from an impactful weekend of wrestling across the state?
Always so many things to choose from. I'm going to go with the big one this weekend was Tri-State. And I wasn't there personally, but it was impressive to see Post Falls. You know, there's a couple really tough Washington schools that were there that I thought might win it. Post Falls coming in second. And then seeing the 190-pound Idaho finals, Jordan Tyler, Seth Martin at 190 was fun to see two Idaho kids in the finals there together. Idaho, I think, had 4 or 5 champions. And just a really strong showing overall. So I thought that was the most impressive thing of the week.
It was an impressive Tri-State 53rd annual, according to the Coeur d'Alene Press, who had a great recap of everything that happened there, of course, at North Idaho College in Coeur d'Alene. And, oh, my gosh, guys, in the chat, Coach Derek Booth from North Idaho College, another great Tri-State tournament. Absolutely, Coach Booth. It's kind of a win-win, Brian. Coach Booth gets to, with his own eyes, examine some of the best wrestlers in the Northwest that he may want to sign to his program, and it also provides a great showcase opportunity for the athletes.
It's great. Coach Booth is doing such a great job building that program back up. I mean, North Idaho is doing great, and it's been fun so far watching North Idaho College this year. There's a couple Idaho boys that are really tearing it up. Hoyt Havas has looked great as a freshman up there, and there's a couple others. And so you're right, win-win for North Idaho, and it's awesome that they host this tournament. And keep up the good work, Coach Booth.
Yep, we love it. Al, what was the best thing you saw from the past weekend of action?
Well, I physically observed it. I went. It's the second year in a row I've gone. I believe it's a newer tournament, but Ridgeview High School runs the Ridgeview Warhawks tournament. They had varsity, JV, and girls tournament. Very well run tournament. Staff did a great job. It's another great competition where you see a lot of second teamers, a lot of kids maybe seconds going to state, a mixture of some state placers and some girls competition. So it finished early on time. So I just want to kudos to the staff run that tournament. We need more tournaments like that where we can bring everyone together. So, and I want to just say one thing. It was brought to my attention in my state preview. I listed Gabe Finley as a 2-time placer. Actually, he's a 3-time placer. Took second as a freshman when he went to Wendell. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll have it updated. And that is all.
Okay, I'll make sure I'll go in and change that on the back end, Al. Okay.
Yeah, he took second as a freshman. Then he ended up going to Buell, where he placed twice.
Gotcha. Yeah, it can be tricky to track that sometimes. It's all right, Al. We'll just we're gonna dock
one.
We're gonna dock your pay this month.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Here are the chat guys. Hoyt. Yeah. Hoyt Haas getting some love from the chat. He's one of our favorites here on the Matt Chat Prepcast. Bruce says Tri-State is always tough, no exception. We'll dive more into that in just a moment. I did want to note also, Al, with the Ridgeview tournament you were at, Ridgeview is competing as a 6A school this year in wrestling. So it'll be interesting to see where the Warhawks kind of slot in amongst those contemporaries like Meridian, Mountain View, CUNA, Rocky Mountain, etc. It's going to be interesting for sure. So,
yes.
Okay, your wife must be home, Coach Al. I hear your dog's barking. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, while Al is on mute, the best thing I saw from the past week was at the Tim Matthews invite in Jerome. This is always the big kickoff event to me. That's when, the really serious competition gets started. And my note comes from the girls competition, actually, where you had 3 girls from the same school finish 1, 2, 3 on the podium at 165 pounds, a Burley Bobcat trio. Kayla Anuelo, and I'm going to get these names wrong, but Kayla takes first place. Then you had Caitlin Herbst take second, and then Zariah Dominguez finishes third. And so we talk about girls wrestling a lot. We talk a lot about Jerome and Buell. But Brian, I thought this was a great opportunity to shine the light on Burley, as well as Burley goes 1, 2, 3 at 165 at the Tim Matthews girls invite.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Really, it's fun to have those girls. 15 schools there. I think Twin Falls won it. So, I mean, good for Twin Falls. I mean, they're going to be competitive. Jerome was in second there. And like you said, Burley in fourth. And having 3 girls, that's pretty cool to see for sure.
You don't see that often, although maybe the heavyweights at Mountain View did that a time or two the last couple of years. They had a loaded heavyweight room for sure. Okay, so let's talk about Tri-State. That was kind of the big storyline. And again, we're tweaking the format slightly here on the Matt Chat Prepcast this year. We're going to be kind of a little more structured, a little more organized. Basically, the first 15 minutes of the show is discussing the big headlines, big storylines from the past week of wrestling. Then the second 15-minute block is going to be just boys wrestling. We'll take your questions. We'll break down whatever matchups, whatever weight classes. Our third 15-minute segment from the bottom of the hour to 45 is going to be girls wrestling, and I am so excited for our girls wrestling guest tonight. We will introduce you to him in about 20 minutes, and then the final 15 minutes of the show, taking us to the top of the hour, we'll be kind of previewing the big competitions that are coming up in the week and the weekend ahead. So the big headline was Tri-State and Post Falls coming out and competing so well. There were some really strong Washington teams that came over, Brian. It ended up being neck and neck down the stretch between Post Falls and a school from Washington, and the Trojans performed exceptionally well.
Yeah, no, that was really surprising. Like I said, I think Orting won it, and Tahoma, I really thought coming into that was probably going to win it. They brought a really strong lineup back, so Post Falls places ahead of Tahoma. Coeur d'Alene was in the top 10. I think they're 6th. Lakeland was in the top 10. So really good showing from Idaho against some really strong competition.
Yeah. And go ahead, Al.
Oh, no, I mean, because Post Falls, I mean, it's still early in the season. Everyone's trying to figure out what weights they're going to go. They're still trying to, moving kids around. But, I mean, Post Falls had a champ and 10 placers overall, which is not bad. Then you look at Meridian. They had some kids spread out throughout the different tournaments, but they had 6 placers. Then Coeur d'Alene, they took 6. They got 1 champ and 4 placers, like we were saying last podcast. Keep an eye on them because they have a good shot at possibly being in top 3 or 4.
And Ryan Skaggs in the chat, guys. What's up, my dudes? He is, of course, a great broadcaster for us up here in North Idaho. Used to coach wrestling as well, so he knows the sport like the back of his hand. I would be remiss if we didn't mention that Lakeland also finished in 10th overall. That was huge for a Lakeland Hawks program that I think is going to be pretty feisty at the 5A level this year. Ryan says Ording, Washington is very legit. Lots of great Washington schools showed out. Hats off to the NIC staff for putting on a masterpiece of an event. Those finals were epic. Darren says, go Vikings. Yeah, we're going to talk about Post Falls plenty this year, Al, but let's talk about Coeur d'Alene because, you know, it wasn't that long ago that Coeur d'Alene was kind of the premier wrestling program up north, and Post Falls has kind of taken that mantle recently, but I thought this was a pretty encouraging finish for Coeur d'Alene High also.
Yeah, I mean, at 113's Rocco White, who took sixth and third at state. He placed seventh there at 113's. And then the kid that sort of jumped on the radar again is, Gabe Larson was in the finals. You know, he was a state qualifier last year, and now he made the finals. So that's another kid in their lineup starting to rise. But Brock Armstrong, he won it. I believe he's a sophomore, ranked currently number 4 in the state at 175. So that's that one missing link that they probably didn't have last year. It's going to make a difference. And he beat Logan Shaver in the finals, which is not an easy win. So, no, they look pretty good.
Yeah, we had Brock Armstrong from Coeur d'Alene, the champ at 165. Other Idaho champions we had at 98, Zach Teal from Lakeland. We had from we had from Post Falls, Seth Martin at 195. And then Garrett Leonard from Lake City got the win at 215 as well. And then this was a runner-up performance. We kind of skipped over Meridian. They took 5th overall at Tri-State, but Blake Nevels ends up taking 2nd place at 126. And Zach in the chat says the Nevels kid from Meridian looks super tough as a freshman. Yeah, Al, freshman year, getting to the finals at Tri-State.
I mean, he moved into Idaho, but I believe he won the Tulsa Nationals. He's an All-American. This kid's legit. Come into the year, if he starts peaking, he's got a good shot at winning it. The kid's tough, very tough.
Yep. More in the chat here. Bruce Schultz says Moffitt and his staff are very solid. They will compete. That's Coach Jeff Moffitt at Coeur d'Alene High School. Matthew Hamilton says Armstrong looks dangerous. That's high compliment from a fellow wrestler there, Matt Hamilton. So yeah, we were kind of investigating pre-show, Brian, because we were like, oh man, this kid really blew up in the summer and has gotten off to such a great start here in his sophomore year. And he kind of just disappeared his freshman year. We think, an injury maybe, but a sky-high potential for Brock Armstrong.
Yeah, he is. I remember watching him this summer, kind of the same thing. We saw him early in the season last year, and then it looks like mid-January we stopped seeing him around, and he was having a pretty good season, 27-7 record or something like that. And then I remember seeing him this summer at the Fargo camp and then at Fargo and thinking, wow, this is a really legit, good-looking freshman, and now a sophomore, and to win Tri-State as a sophomore in that upper weight class, 165, and like we said, another Idaho on Idaho battle in the finals with Shaver, who is, a legit wrestler. So Armstrong's looking at it super impressive.
Yep. No doubt about it. So that's what happened at Tri-State. Everybody looked really good and really strong out of the gate there. Let's go to the Tim Matthews invite, guys, over in Jerome. This was a big meet hosted. A lot of Magic Valley teams were there competing, of course, but along the way, Al, you're going to be shocked when you hear this. Minico wins the team title for the umpteenth time in a row. Minico, again, just looks so strong.
Yeah. No, I believe they had 5 champs and 13 placers overall, and I'm not sure if they even had their full potential there. But, I was impressed seeing Rigby come in second. They had 1 champ and 15 placers. So that's just a good leading indicator that coming into the year, they may be in a mix too. So we'll have to just see how that plays out. Very impressive.
Yeah. That's kind of what I took away from it too. I mean, Minico, you knew they were going to dominate like they did, really up there, but to see Rigby in second place was really a surprise. It's a program that has been building, and brand new head coach this year, Coach Linneberry, So far, I mean, I was at a duel with them in Madison, Idaho Falls and Skyline last week, and was really surprised with what Rigby's bringing out down there. Hunter Anderson, a champion at 120, Fargo All-American. I mean, they've got some pieces, and to come in second at that tournament, ahead of Jerome, Mountain View, Twin Falls, I was really surprised and impressed by what Rigby's put together so far this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, did you see at 138 now Sean Hall, Canyon Ridge, now they're up in the 6A. He beat Ian Avalos of Mountain View, who's a state finalist as a freshman last year, by majors. So like I was saying in the last podcast, Sean Hall, that weight 138s at state could be one of the toughest weights.
Yeah,
so,
that's going to be fun. I mean, especially with Post Falls, Seguin looking for his 4th state title, and then you got Sean Hall there. That's one of the big battles to look forward. And I hope maybe we get to see that at Raleigh Lane. But that's going to be a fun, Sean Hall, Seguin. I think some of the comments I got on the rankings this week, that was one of the big comments I got, is how do you have Sean Hall ahead of a 3-time state champion? And it's a legit question for sure, but Sean Hall's also legit, so it's going to be fun to watch that play out.
I'll answer it. Sean Hall, I mean, I don't think he won his division, but he's a multiple-time All-American, so he's putting in a lot of time. So he's a junior this year, so he's starting to grow. But he's improved a lot in the last couple of years, but he's putting in the time in the summer. So going to Fargo and Folkstyle National. So that's why he's up there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm starting to think, guys, maybe we should every week unveil the rankings like ESPN did with the college football playoff. We'll just really milk that cow for all it's worth.
There were some, big matches inside the top 5 in just about every division this week. So there's going to be some shakeups for sure. And, something for people to look forward to tomorrow and more discussion in the wrestling world. We'll see. It's fun to get those text messages and see what people think for sure.
And go ahead.
Oh, and we got to remember with rankings, they're there one day, you're gone the next, but it's what you do at the end of the year and what you do at state. So this is all speculation and talk, but it's done on the mat. So we can't lose sight of that. This is just for fun right now.
Yeah, since we're talking about it, friendly reminder, the rankings drop every Wednesday on IdahoSports.com. So we do the Matt Chat Prepcast Tuesday night, rankings drop Wednesday. And then, of course, the competition really heats up as we get to the weekend. Couple of things. One, we do it for fun, okay? It's not a personal slight to anybody that didn't get ranked where they think they should be. It's just a fun jumping off point and a conversation starter. Number 2, it's done by a committee. Okay. It's not one person. It's not even any of us. It's a committee. It's a whole team of people. And so if you think you found somebody who's ranking it, you're probably wrong, first of all. And second of all, if there are anything data points you want to add to the rankings, you can always send me an email. It's right there, Brandon@IdahoSports.com. I will take your wrestling rankings, criteria, and comments, and I will disperse them to who needs it. But rankings drop tomorrow on IdahoSports.com. One last note from the Tim Matthews invite that I thought was pretty cool, guys. 157, a 2A kid, Alfredo Valdez from Valley, wins the 157 bracket against kids from Rigby and Mountain View and Jerome. And that's pretty cool, Brian, for a 2A kid to come out swinging like that.
It is. It's fun and we have, some really good talk 2A. You look at that other tournament this week, the Calhoun Classic, where, Fruitland and New Plymouth placing as teams ahead of Middleton, who was right in the mix with the 5A schools this year. So, but that's pretty cool to see the 2A individually win that. But there's some really strong 2A schools and individuals this year. So
yeah,
definitely competitive.
Coy Orr won it for Filer too, right? At 132. And he's a top-notch kid.
Yep. More comments coming in, guys. This one from Instagram, Ava of Madonna. Thanks for supporting girls wrestling. Yes, we're going to be talking girls wrestling in detail in about 10 minutes here on the Matt Chat Prepcast. Yeah, the Calhoun Classic over in Nyssa, Oregon. Fruitland wins that going away. 236.5 points. New Plymouth second, a distant 138. Luckily, Al, they're in separate divisions, right? Fruitland is a 4A, New Plymouth is a 3A, so they could go their separate ways when it comes to state tournament time and both be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Fruitland's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
I think they would compete with every division this year.
Yep.
So
a couple of comments in the chat here about the rankings. Bruce says rankings and seedings are fun, but don't mean much. LOL. And then, here's our boss, guys. This is the guy that turns the lights on for us, Paul Kingsbury. The rankings are all powerful. Don't downplay them, guys. We need the clicks.
Oh, you'll get them.
Guaranteed. Julie and Eric Willoughby, diehard New Plymouth Pilgrims. New Plymouth has some hammers, both boys and girls. Yes. It's going to be fun to see how New Plymouth progresses throughout the year in the new, what's now called 3A level for New Plymouth. Certainly. And yeah, hey, as you're watching tonight and you're throwing comments in, let us know where you're watching from tonight as well. I always love finding out, how big of a footprint we have geographically in the state of Idaho. Here's a shout out, guys, from Coach Nieder. Shout out to Coach Nieder. Oh, I always get this wrong, Brian. Nieder, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Coach Nieder. Shout out to the
Nieder.
Oh, Nieder. Oh, I had it right first time. Okay. See, now I'm in my head. I can't get past it. Shout out to the Idaho Falls Tigers. Although I am a Tiger through and through, congratulations to Hunter Anderson from Rigby on his 100th varsity win.
Yeah, congrats, Hunter. That was fun. And Idaho Falls, it's another school that had a really good showing. They were up at the AK-47 in Utah, which is another fun format. They kind of do, it's a team tournament the first day, and then those that are winning go into an individual bracket the next day. And Idaho Falls had DJ Nieder, a champion, Mason Peck, second. I don't think Saxon Scott went to that one. He was traveling somewhere else, I think. But Idaho Falls had a good showing there. The only school from Idaho, I think, that was at that tournament in Utah this weekend.
Yep. Cool. And yeah, you might be wondering, hey, we haven't really talked much East Idaho yet. A lot of the East Idaho schools, Brian, were competing at the Cooper D. Lish invite hosted by Marsh Valley. This was a fun little tournament, a little bit of a different format to the tournament as well.
It is same thing. They start it in pods. So you've got pods of 4 or 5 wrestlers. They wrestle those pods, and then the winners from each pod wrestle the second place guy from another pod. And so it's kind of fun. There's no team scores as far as I know. But Ryrie, Marsh Valley, Malad looks really good. Probably 30 different schools there, so it's hard to see. But Ryrie had their share of champions for sure. Malad had several in the finals. Century, Blackfoot had a couple. Buell, Pocatello had Bunderson win it at 138. So really a good mix of winners. American Falls had some winners, like really a diverse tournament. And the way they do that, it'd be fun to see. I don't know how you would keep team score there, because I think some teams were able to bring multiple people in each bracket, but another fun formatted tournament and pretty good sized tournament for Marsh Valley.
Yeah, it was a really fun affair. Some of the highlights from the Cooper D. Lish, and it used to be a different name, so that's what kind of is throwing people off with the name a little bit. It looks like Ryrie, Highland, Pocatello, Century, Snake River, American Falls, kind of all the suspects you would expect there. It looks like, Ryrie, like you said, Braylon Moon at 126. I thought was a nice win over Seth Lish from Marsh Valley. I thought that was a big win there. And really also the big one that I thought was a big breakthrough was at, oh man, I had it in the, I had it up before the show. Drake Morrison of Malad at 150 beating the Pocatello kid, Archuleta. I thought it was pretty impressive too.
That was a big match. And then the 190, you had Blaze Turner, American Falls, and Elijah Dilworth, Soda Springs, who, last year set the world on fire. Blaze Turner was a freshman in the finals. And then I can't remember if Dilworth ended up winning. Were they different divisions? I can't remember, but Dilworth was having a monster season. And so that was a crazy matchup there too.
Yep. Okay, more in the chat. Love the hat, Al. That's from Coach Nieder.
Keeps my head warm.
Yep. Bruce is watching tonight, guys, from Cardiff, Idaho. All right.
No, going back to this tournament, it's great when you can bring multiple kids from your school, because there's not a lot of JV frost-off level tournaments or second-tier tournaments. So the more competition these kids can get that are second teamers that could potentially go to state or up-and-coming kids is great. Seeing more of these type of tournaments is good for the sport.
Yep. It's huge. Let's see. Jesus in the chat says Jace Wolf also got his 100th win for Caldwell this weekend. And that's something we want to keep track of. We had fun doing this last year as those milestones are met, 100, 150. We had Coulter Burton go over 200 last year, which is just astronomical. We want to hear about that, and we want to put that list together. So yes, as you've got young men or women that are approaching those milestone markers, let us know, and we'll add it to the list. I'll start keeping a list of all of the career achievements this season, because we've got so many that are doing so many great things. John in the chat says Braves Brawl had some good matches. That was over in Afton, Wyoming, where Star Valley High School is. Brian, do you know much about Star Valley? They're kind of like the premier, not just wrestling, but like every sport in Wyoming. They kind of dominate everything, but it's a really good program over there in Wyoming.
They are the alma mater of Rulon Gardner. And so, they had a dominant program in the 90s. They're still pretty dominant. And I think Shelley Sugar, Thunder Ridge goes there, Teton. I think of the Idaho schools, Shelley did the best. I think they had the best results. They had a few undefeated wrestlers, John Boehm, Ty Peterson, I think. So really good showing from Idaho schools there. I think Shelley just ended up fourth. Star Valley, I'm trying to think of the schools that ended up placing ahead of them, but pretty good showing from Idaho for only having 4 schools there, or 5.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. And then in the chat as well, guys, Brock Steele says Jacob Shaw from New Plymouth looked amazing, winning by a major in the finals over an Oregon State finalist at the Calhoun Classic. So, Al, we talked about, the last couple of years, Idaho per capita gets more out of their wrestlers than any other state in the Northwest. And I know historically Washington has always been strong top to bottom. What kind of competition do we see over in Oregon to our neighbor to the west?
Very tough competition. Traditionally, Oregon's been a tough state. They've been probably tougher in the past, but you get a lot of good competition there. But Washington is right up there as well. So I haven't really tracked Oregon of what the top teams are right now, but traditionally you'll get some good competition from there.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, guys, we are approaching the bottom of the hour here on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. Also Instagram tonight and the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page as well. I'm still kind of new at this, guys. I forgot. We've got a sponsor now here for the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Green Solutions. We are so grateful that Green Solutions has signed on to be a sponsor of the Mat Chat Prepcast this season. Green Solutions Cleaning and Restoration is 2 brothers born in Rexburg. They've been blessed to find a way to work with one another. They say, our dad put us on the wrestling mat at 5 years old, and through our childhood, we had a lot of success in high school and college. And through wrestling, we learned that having success not only takes hard work, but putting in more time than our opponents. In our business, we put in the time and energy to make us great at what we do. We feel we have an edge and can help our customers have a great experience. We are the premium park cleaning company in the area. Our main focus over the last 3 years has been in water damage, emergencies, and disasters. No one wants to wake up to a foot of water in the basement. That being said, we've learned how to de-escalate the situation and help the customer through the difficult times. We love East Idaho and are grateful for this area and our loyal customers. It is local Rexburg-raised Green Brothers providing excellent water, mold, and fire damage business, Green Solutions. So grateful that they are a sponsor all season long here on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. As we hit the bottom of the hour, though, it's time to shift gears, and we're going to go from talking boys wrestling to girls wrestling for the next 15 minutes. So all the girls wrestling fans in the chat, get your questions, your shout outs lined up. We're going to rock and roll. We met one of our girls wrestling advocates and experts last week, Val Johansson. She is the girls coach at Sandpoint High School and Middle School. Val had a duel tonight. She's actually coaching. So we are so pleased to bring on our second girls wrestling expert that we will rely upon this season. This is a name that will be familiar to wrestling fans throughout the state. Fred Bartlett. Fred, good evening.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing great, Fred. Thank you so much for signing on this year to be a girls wrestling advocate here on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. For our audience that may not know you, give us a quick bio background of your wrestling career and your Idaho career.
Okay. Well, I graduated from Meridian in 1999, so you can figure out my age, I guess, from there. But I wrestled at BSU for a couple of years, and then got into coaching right after that, and I've been coaching ever since. But I've been the head coach at Buell High School for both the boys and the girls for the past 12 years. In the last 3 years, I've been the women's director. 2 years officially. The last 3 years, I've been the women's director, just at USA, trying to help grow off-season wrestling, basically, for the girls. So it's been fun. I really like coaching girls. They listen better.
Yeah, that's for sure. Crystal in the chat is watching from Orofino tonight. Thank you, Crystal. I know North Idaho's got a lot of promising female wrestlers this season. But Fred, what were the big headlines, the big storylines from girls wrestling, things that jumped out to you from this past weekend of competition?
Well, up north, I saw Kira Zimmerman. She's down to 126. She kicked butt at the Lakeland girls tournament. So that was impressive. There's some tough girls up north. Shelby Garten was also the champ at 132. And then just a little bit south in LeGrand, there was a tournament going on where Rocky Mountain was at. And I noticed we had another freshman kind of emerge there with Whitney. I'm going to butcher her name. Al, how do you say Whitney?
Whitney Cothra.
Cothra, yeah.
Yeah, she's tough. She's gritty.
She beat a state placer in Alexis Johnson from Idaho. So even though they were out of state, they still managed to link up. So, which is cool. I mean, we want to see good matches right now during the season. So, and then in Jerome, we saw Olivia Bezdacek. She was down at 132. Wrestled Kasia Hanks from Burley. So that's a good matchup. So, and then Eastern Idaho, we saw Kiana Conrad wrestle Kyler Scott, which I was looking forward to that matchup as well. So some really good matchups. I like to see the girls are not afraid to toe the line and wrestle each other. So only makes them better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Really good early season matchups there for sure.
Yeah.
I
was really impressed with the West Jefferson girls. They have two girls that are in the lightweights that have dropped down a weight class, and they both look really tough. The Barzee girl at 107 and Meserly at 100. They both look really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Here is Crystal in the chat. Shout out to Reagan Kessinger at 126. That was going to be my question, Fred, was we talked about the weight modifications, right, on the boys, but it's also on the girls' side this year. How have those weight, I mean, it was just slight tweaks of the numbers, but how have those changes been going?
So we're still on the same 12 weight NFHS standard. So we're doing the 12 weight one, but the surrounding states are doing the 14 weight one, which I like those weights, that there's a little more flexibility, and I would like to see us adopt those weights, to be honest. There's a little bit more room in those middle weights. It's kind of nice. They go by 5-pound increments, which I think I like, and it matches up with our summer wrestling weights, which I think is nice. So
yeah, that's something we talked about with Val a little bit last week as well. Here is Coach Nider in the chat from Idaho Falls, guys. Freshman girl to keep an eye out for, Maya Bollender at 114.
Yep, she had a great tournament. She was at the Hillcrest tournament and won the 114 weight class, which I got to see her a few matches. And for a freshman to come in and win that, she looked really good. Going to be fun to watch her. And Idaho Falls had a few solid girls there. They had a couple others in the top two. That tournament at Hillcrest, it was really spread out. Which the girls, I think, is going to be that's why it's so hard to call the team race, I think, for the girls is, that tournament, for example, you had Preston with 3 champions, Skyline with 2, Bonneville 2, Hillcrest 1, Westside 1, IF 1. I mean, literally no one really separated themselves. So it's going to be a fun team race all the way around, because it seems like every team has a few girls that are going to place, and nobody has 8 or 9 that are going to play. So it's going to be fun to keep an eye out.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting prediction time when it gets to state, trying to predict how all of the points will go. Here's Tom in the chat, guys. It was awesome to see Coach Fred at Marsh Valley this weekend. Fred, so you were there with the Buell boys for the Cooper D. Lish. What are the challenges of coaching both the boys and the girls? When girls wrestling first started, I feel like that's just an extra duty that the head coach took on. More and more schools are now hiring a separate coach for girls wrestling, which I think is great. But what are the challenges of trying to do both?
Yeah, I mean, I think the teams that you're seeing like have great growth have really been able to separate their girls from their boys and treat them almost like 2 different teams. Unfortunately, in Buell, like we got one wrestling coach right now, so we gotta kind of share the duties there. Luckily, I got an old retired bull that I bring out of retirement to help coach, and then I got great assistants that take care of the boys so that I can take care of the girls too. So
yeah, and the Buell girls looks like they had a pretty good weekend. Obviously, Allie won it, looked pretty dominant. It looked like down there. So you had both boys and girls in the finals, which makes it even splitting duties even more, huh? You had a couple, Chad. The Carpenter girl, she won it at 132, if I'm not mistaken. So Buell had a really good showing there. Yeah,
we just need a couple more, and we'll be able to hang. I think it's going to take 4 or 5 placers to bring home a state trophy this year, and I don't know if we got that, but they're working hard, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Fred. Okay, so I've been here 4 years, and every year we're talking about growth. The state tournament in 2022, since that time, the growth percentage has gone up 126%. The national average, national is 103%, so we're going up there. But the last year, it's only been a 5% increase. Now we're peaking at 881. A question I'm sort of curious is, what do you see at the grassroots levels? Because it seems like every year we had Ali Swansara, we had Kiana Conrad, Roxy Sheeney's freshmen coming in, beating state champions. This year we're seeing Charlie Noah. What do you see coming up in the future? Where's the growth at the grassroots middle school? What's the numbers look like?
It's pretty hard to gauge the growth on the middle school. We'll have middle school state this weekend, which will be a good indicator of what it looks like for that incoming freshman class. But really, the girls are getting better by traveling throughout the off season. We'll go to we have the Christmas Clash duels, which is always good for that's my first real interaction as far as Team Idaho goes, and getting an opportunity to meet parents and the wrestlers and start developing relationships. So this coming weekend after middle school state, we'll set a Christmas Clash team to go down and compete in Utah with basically teams from all over the Northwest. So that's really the start of introduction to the Team Idaho stuff that we're doing. So and then we'll hit up Heartland with the younger girls. And then as soon as high school season's over, we get in the battle wagon and we drive all over the place, trying to find matches and expose the girls to some national competition. So it's been really cool to go to junior duels with some of the girls and just give them that exposure and give them a chance to wrestle some of the best girls in the nation. So
no, you guys are doing a great job, because already right now in the national high school ranking, there's 7 Idaho girls ranked. That's impressive. Last year, I think there was 9. So that's a good metric to look at, say, wow, we're starting, those girls early on are doing all the national competition. So their development looks good.
We have 45 women, I think, at wrestling in college right now, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. We need some of those women to come back and be leaders to our state and coach some wrestling, I hope. So that's my hope, is some of those women will come back and want to be a part of what we're trying to build. So
what an opportunity to build a women's program along with another men's program. I mean, it's inevitable. They're going to have to do it. So we'll see.
We need it. We need it for the coaching side of it. Like, we get alumni to come back and coach. It's, we're running out of BSU alumni on the boys side, and we don't have any girls alumni. So
everyone's getting old, brother.
Yeah.
Not to put anybody on the spot, but I think immediately like Alyssa Randalls from Coeur d'Alene. It's just in the DNA. If you're a Randalls, right? That's just in the DNA. Okay. Yep. Okay. More in the chat here, guys. I was asking earlier, how hard is it to coach boys and girls? Coach Jimenez says it's tough. LOL.
Jordan.
RJ says, guys, Kyler Scott notched her 100th win this weekend at the Marsh Valley tournament. Way to go. That's awesome.
Super impressive. She looked good.
Yep. Miles in the chat, guys, says, kind of cool to see Burley take first, second, and third at 165 in Jerome. Yeah, that's what I said at the top of the show. That was my best thing I saw from the week that was. Kayla Angelo took first. Caitlin Herbst took second. Zariah Dominguez took third. It's cool, Fred, when you can see one school go 1, 2, 3. You don't see that often.
Burley's doing a great job. Their boys coach from last year, I'm not sure the whole circumstance, but he decided he's coaching the girls. So they got a new boys coach, and he's like, I'm coaching the girls. And they got about 20 girls out there. So, and they look good. They got some tough girls. So
cool. Here is Nicole Bezdacek. This is Olivia's mom. There were multiple Magic Valley middle school tournaments that had 100 girls. Nice full brackets. That's good news. We love to see that.
That's great to see for sure.
Great indicator.
Yep. And Coach Jimenez kind of echoing your thoughts there, Fred. We need high-level coaches to commit to coaching girls. Yeah, how does that – I mean, there's a recruiting and then a retention, right? Just getting the coaches in the door is like the first step, but then, you got to retain them. There can be outside pressures and the pressures of the job and all these outside forces. So it's kind of a two-prong, right, Fred? It's recruiting, but then it's also retaining the coaches you have.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with the athletes too. I mean, you can get the girls to come out and try it, but can we keep them, and hopefully we start seeing our numbers. Like we were looking at the growth, and I'm looking at the numbers from the sophomore class, and we were at 280 freshmen. We lost somewhere along the way. We lost like 60 sophomores. And so I'm wondering, like, what didn't we do right there, Like, and you're going to have some turnover for sure, but that's a big concern for me. Like, I want people to come and enjoy the sport, boys and girls. And I hate to see the only number I really care about is retention. Like, how many are coming back the next year? So.
Yeah, and of course, participation numbers down across the board. It doesn't matter what the sport is. I mean, even just from 10 years ago to now. And so it's coaches at every sport and every level trying to retain as many of those athletes as they can. So what is coming up this weekend in terms of girls competitions, Fred? What should we be keeping our eyes on?
Oh, shoot. I know where we're going. We're going to the Wiley Dobbs tournament. It's usually pretty good. CUNA will come down. They have a really tough girls program right now. I think Middleton will be there too, and Middleton looks good. They added another bigger girl, so I think they'll be right in the mix too. And then as far as up north, I don't remember what they got going up north.
Kellogg has a girls tournament up there this week. They combine it with their boys, and then in East Idaho, there's the Ryrie girls tournament. I think it's on its third year. They usually it's a pretty solid tournament. I think about 12, 14 girls teams, if I remember right. Or no, there's 23. It looks like this year at the Ryrie girls tournament. So that'll be a battle in East Idaho. I think Wiley Dobbs is probably the biggest girls. I think they're pushing 30 teams there.
Yeah, I'd expect.
And Reno TOC, I know Rocky's going there, right? Eagle, New Plymouth, and Meridian are sending girls to the Reno tournament.
Yep. Tom says the Ryrie tournament will be tough. Coach Jimenez, he's going to the Reno Tournament of Champions. All right, Fred, this was a pretty good debut. No pressure here. Here's HA. Fred was born for this podcast. One of my favorites to talk wrestling with. Good stuff, Freddie.
There you go,
man.
Fred, you did an awesome job tonight. We really appreciate you coming on to be an advocate, to be a kind of an expert and a leader in girls wrestling, because, like we said, Al and Brian and I try to give the girls as much credit as we can, but having somebody that's actually in the trenches, involved day to day with girls wrestling, is such a huge addition to our show this year. And so we're so grateful you and Val have agreed to come on each week and talk about girls wrestling.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Of course. All right,
Can't
Fred.
wait to see the battle bus hitting it. Does everybody know what the battle bus is watching this show? You've seen the Buell orange, black and white camo van driving around. It's like a staple of girls wrestling over the summer. I love seeing it pull into all the tournaments, and Fred getting out. You know, I've seen it pulled over on the side of the road before. I mean, I've seen that van just not everywhere. So
we're not sneaking up on anybody in it. So.
Yeah, world famous for sure. Brock in the chat says Fred wasn't born for the podcast. Fred was born to drive the battle wagon.
That's what it feels like the last couple of years, for sure.
Yeah, you're getting your frequent flyer miles, no doubt about it. Kenna in the chat, Kenna Wagner, Tri-Valley 1A will be at Wiley Dobbs as well.
Oh, that's great. They're tough. I'm excited to see them.
Yeah, Tri-Valley might be the most impressive 1A program to be, boys and girls. They get so much out of a small number of athletes. What they do, it's phenomenal. So that's the co-op between Midvale and Cambridge over there in the Treasure Valley. So, all right, Fred, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for hopping on and doing this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right, sounds good. See you, Fred. Bye. All right, guys, there we go. Some good conversation. And Al, we kind of mentioned it, that the middle school championships next week will be kind of telling in terms of, okay, what's the future look like?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's where that's another area you got to look to grow, where they're growing at that level. It seems like the quality is getting better each year coming up because these girls have had a chance to compete, since the sixth grade or even earlier than that. So they do have some time competing. So no one can rest. Every year it's going to get better.
Yeah, and that was a good point. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, go ahead, Brian. I was going to go to you for something.
That was a really good point, that there was a couple middle school girls tournaments filled over in the Twin Falls area this week, but also in Eastern Idaho, they had the middle school championships and the girls brackets there. They weren't all full, but every bracket had, 5-6 girls at least from 75 pounds all the way up through the top. So, good signs, and hopefully all those girls get to middle school state this year. And you still have, I still know a lot of girls that are doing the spring seasons. It's freestyle. And then you have that. Another issue with girls wrestling is that you go folk style in high school and then freestyle when you get to college. So, it's fun to see, like Fred said, the girls traveling in the spring and summer where they're doing the Olympic styles, and freestyle where the girls will be wrestling in college. So it's going to be interesting to see how it grows, but right now I think the middle school it looks like it's in good hands. So it'll be fun to see those numbers this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait. Go ahead, Al.
Oh, Brandon. So talking about numbers, you brought up growth, in Idaho. So the National Federation of High School Sports, their statistic in 2013, 2014, Idaho, all the sports, boys and girls, there was 45,447 participants that year. This last year, there's 54,678. That's every sport, boys and girls. So you're talking about a 20% increase. But when it comes to wrestling, since 2014, it's gone up over 80-something% with both the boys and the girls. So it is growing. I just think COVID was the one year where if it was a standard deviation, it was starting to be a lot less of a growth, right? Because a lot of kids didn't go out that next year, or middle schools didn't compete or whatever. So the growth is still happening. So pretty good.
That's good.
Population too.
Yes. We had a lot of people move to Idaho during COVID because we weren't as quite as locked down as other states around us. You can infer which states we're talking about from there.
No, we don't want to.
Yeah. Well, that's good, Al. I'm glad you had the overall numbers because the story I hear and what I see is that schools that used to have a varsity, a JV, a freshman team in various sports, now all of a sudden it's just a varsity and a JV, or at some schools it's only a varsity. And so I'm glad that at least the overall numbers seem to be going up still. I think that is wrestling is definitely boosting up a lot of other sports in terms of participation growth, certainly.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you got some of these small towns here in Idaho that has a population of 200 or 300 people. I mean, how many kids are staying there, after high school? How many are moving on? So the number of kids in these schools probably depleting a little bit in these small rural towns. So I don't know.
It ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah.
And the last thing I was going to kind of put a bow on the girls wrestling discussion, Brian, is that there are now leaders to look up to for those girls that are in middle school or those girls that are in elementary school, these girls that are competing. And I think Brian's frozen, so maybe we'll go to Al with this instead. But Al, there are now those leaders that you can look up to. A girl that's a third grader or a fourth grader can go, hey, I want to be like Raylan O'Connor from Salmon when I get to high school and wrestle. Whereas this group of girls, they're kind of the pioneers, if you will. They're the ones that are forging the path. And so once you have leaders in place that the younger generation can look up to, that helps with retention a little bit as well.
Yeah. And I would encourage those girls to go back and start coaching too, where they can, so they can be present. I mean, some of you have Elise Randall's winning 4. She recently won 4 titles. She's in college. Hopefully she'll come back. Lita Cruz, she won 4 titles. She's at Grandview. Hopefully she'll come back. But no, you definitely, now they can relate and have someone they can look up to and try to emulate, because the pioneers before them were Sierra Foster, who back then they didn't have a women's program. She had to wrestle in the boys, and she was a multiple-time All-American. So things are getting better.
Yep, for sure. Brian, we lost you for a second there.
I had the day out from work today because our whole system was down. So we still have lingering issues. Sorry about that.
You don't have drones flying over, do you?
It did. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about wrestling propping up the participation numbers for some of the other sports. Bruce says all of them, Brandon. Wrestling propping up all of the other sports for sure. And here's Travis in the chat. Want to say congratulations to freshman Tyler Wood from Sandpoint for taking 6th at Tri-State. And Al, I think this is always what's most exciting to me as we start the season. We hear kind of rumors about this incoming freshman class and where they might slot in. And we have some data in terms of, summer season and things like that. But now we actually get to see, okay, where does this group of freshmen slot in around the state?
Yeah, because middle school success doesn't necessarily equate to high school success up to college. It gets harder and harder. Some kids adapt, some don't. But the ones I'm seeing coming in they're doing it right away. So we have a good class of freshmen coming up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Statewide.
We've talked about a couple of the Nevilles. I think last week we talked. Grayson Packer, South Fremont, comes in right away and beats a state finalist. I mean, the first weekend of wrestling. So there's some really good freshmen that came in, and it's going to be fun to watch the trajectory for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shots fired, no doubt. Coming right out of the gate, taking down a state champ. That's good. Okay, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, brought to you by Green Solutions, East Idaho's trusted choice for fast, reliable flood recovery.
I saw the Greens at the tournaments this weekend too. I saw Corey at. He has a kid wrestling at middle school and high school there at Madison, so it's fun to see the Greens around, and great company for sure. It's awesome to have them as a sponsor.
Yeah, we are so glad. So glad. Big thanks to Green Solutions. Al, we were kind of talking about some of those early trailblazers in girls wrestling. Bruce says you can't forget the Rochelt girl who also led the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't here. What year was she? Is she related to the Rochelt brothers?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't here then, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. No, this is the early days before they, before they had their own competition. So.
Yes, it used to be unaffiliated, and then now an official IHSAA sport, which we love, of course. All right, guys, let's wrap up the show by talking about what are the big competitions. For a lot of schools, Brian, they might have one more duel like next week or ahead of the Christmas break, but really this is the last big weekend until kind of the new year for a lot of schools.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a couple holiday tournaments, Sierra Nevada Classic, a couple Idaho teams go down to, but not a lot in Idaho. This week, like you said, a few duels, and then we got quite a few tournaments around the state this weekend. One that I really think is really cool, coming back to Salmon, Idaho, the first time in I don't know how long. I mean, we had the whole trying to get a new gym for I don't know how many years, and so they've got their gym, and they're having the Continental Divide tournament up in Salmon, Idaho this weekend. Teton, Sugar Salem, Salmon, a couple, I think Montana schools coming in, so that's going to be fun. I will be at the Bonneville Duels as well, splitting my time there and the Ryrie girls tournament, and that's kind of where I'm going to be in East Idaho. I think those are the two big ones.
What about Malad? Is it Malad going this weekend?
They're also having a tournament this weekend. That will be so. East Idaho is kind of split up. The Bonneville Duels, I think, is about 20 teams. Malad's an individual tournament, and then Ryrie, like I said, 23 girls teams.
What about the Ron John Shoy? Is that Invitational girls tournament in Melba? I believe is coming up this weekend.
Yes, yep. Ron John Shoy in Melba. You mentioned the Continental Divide tournament in Salmon, which is awesome. Salmon is a hard place to get to, but man, once you're there, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
No
yeah,
doubt.
I'm looking at the Reno tournament. I believe in the girls, Eagle, Meridian, New Plymouth, and Rocky Mountain will be there. In the boys, Eagle, Fruitland, Idaho Falls, Meridian, Mountain View, Nampa, and New Plymouth. That's going to be a tough tournament. You have some national powers like Gilroy, Poway, St. John Bosco, some Washington teams, so that they're going to face some of the best competition in the country.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see the results there. A lot of those teams will just take their best kids. Some will take them all. So that's going to be fun to talk about next time we meet. Is just how did our kids do at that tournament? Because you place there, it's pretty legit. One of, probably arguably top 5 tournament in the country high school season. I mean, obviously you have Ironman, Doc B, and a few, but Tournament of Champions is right up there.
It's right up there. Yep.
The old TOC. You mentioned on the girls' side, the 3rd annual Ryrie Rumble. I love the name there. And you mentioned in North Idaho, Brian, Kellogg hosting a boys and a girls invite. That's kind of the big event going on in North Idaho this weekend. And then, of course, Wiley Dobbs at Twin Falls is also going to be pretty telling, I think. The Magic Valley always comes strong out of the gate, Al, with these early season competitions.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. No, it's great to see. I look forward to this coming year. Right after when Raleigh comes up, we'll see a lot of those kids come there as well. So yeah, it's getting real.
Yep. And then the middle school state championships as well at the Idaho Center in Nampa. That's going to be a cool, Brian, for some of those middle schoolers and maybe their first time ever competing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge, it's a great tournament. I mean, it's just fun to see the kids, big eyes. You walk into that, you've got those that travel to, freestyle Greco tournaments all summer and spring, but for a lot of those kids in junior high, this is the biggest they've been to. And so it's fun to see. And, Chris Owens and Ricky Stimson and Fred, they do a great job with the organizing of that tournament. So, and like you said, we'll have some good idea of the girls' numbers, what the future looks like after that tournament. And, it's a cheat sheet for us next year as who's coming in for sure.
Yeah, no, I was at the middle school tournament. What's the Treasure Valley? It's one of the bigger middle school tournaments I went to. There's some 8th graders that look like they're sophomores. I mean, there's some solid looking kids coming up, so yeah, it's and the girls tournament there would seem to be growing as well. So yeah, this is good times.
Yep. A lot of great competition. We will be back next Tuesday night to talk about it all ahead of the holidays. Al, are you going to wear the Santa hat 2 weeks in a row?
It's Christmas Eve, right?
Next Tuesday. Oh yeah. You know what? It is. Wow. We might have to talk offline about, I don't know if we want to do a show on Christmas.
I may have to go help Santa Claus that
night. Oh man. I didn't even notice that. Okay. We'll just quickly talk. Do you want to do a show Monday, the 23rd, or do you want to wait till after Christmas? And then we can kind of recap, because Christmas will be kind of a dead week. There won't be a ton going on, but what do you guys think?
Probably maybe after, what do you think, after Christmas? Because a lot of people will be on travel.
That works for me. I'm good. Whatever. Yeah. After Christmas is good. And
okay. All right. Okay. So we will be back in 2 weeks then to talk about a lot. Oh, so here's Paul.
Hey.
In 2 weeks is New Year's Eve. It's Christmas Eve, and then the next Tuesday night's New Year's Eve.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's right.
And now I'm going to go back into the
Is that AI coming on?
Producer.
The producer.
Okay, this is kind of a funky calendar this year, guys. What do you
It
think
is.
about Monday the 30th?
We could. I mean, what's better, Monday the 23rd or the 30th? Because there's not much going on. We can do it on the
I think I
30th.
can do Monday.
I could too. I can do either Monday. I'm just trying to think what the best for the people.
Probably
out
fresh
there.
off the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Tom in the chat says, do it Monday. I think he's saying the 23rd. The tribe has spoken. We'll
Yep.
do it.
We got their orders.
We'll do Monday, December 23rd, a special Monday night edition. My Green Bay Packers are playing on Monday night, guys.
Oh,
you
man.
realize what I'm sacrificing here.
Just tape it.
That's true. Okay, so we will be back with another edition of the Idaho Matt Chat Prepcast Monday, December 23rd, same time, 8 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Pacific. Al will be there. Brian will be there. I'll be there. We'll be here to talk about girls wrestling for a solid hour on Monday. Until then, thank you for tuning in to the Idaho Matt Chat Prepcast, everybody, brought to you by Green Solutions. If you could, on the way out, hit that like button or the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and then share this when it's all said and done. That'll help everybody who wasn't able to watch live tonight find.
It's the fact you're not missing much, Brandon.
Oh, no. Wow.
That's hard. Oh.
That's brutal. Wow.
What are you
Thanks,
gonna
Tom.
do? What are you gonna do?
Ouch. Okay. Brian says, see you 12:23. You got it, Brian. So yeah, if you hit that like button and share this when it's all said and done, that'll help everybody find it on replay a little easier. But until then, for Coach Al and for Brian and for Fred tonight on our girls wrestling segment, I'm Brandon Maney. Thanks for tuning into the Matt Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.